Hey, what's up everybody? This is Phil from John Class 912 Monday, Wednesday morning class. This video is for the research project and the subject matter of my video is the how-to of crocodiles. And just a quick overview of what we're going to cover. We're going to be looking at what their scales are made of, differences in crocodiles to that of other reptiles, and then more specifically differences between crocodiles and alligators, and then how crocodile scales are patterned along the dorsal side, the top side of their body, the ventral side, the underside of their body, and their tail. And then after all this, we're going to be looking at some professional work and seeing whether they did it right or not. Moving into what scales are made of. The crocodile scales are made of keratin. It is an albuminoid substance found in dead outer skin layer. For example, it's in hair, horns, feathers, bones, nails, claws, etc. Crocodiles form their scales from the dermis section of their body. The dermis is the secondary layer of living skin of an animal. The outermost layer, the basic equivalent to our skin, is called the epidermis. And crocodile scales are scientifically known as scutes. Scutes have similarities that can be found in feet of birds and tails of some animals. Alright, so crocodiles versus other reptiles. Crocodile scales do not overlap like that of snakes and other reptiles. Excuse me. Their scales are more similar to that of a turtle shell. A turtle shell and crocodile scales are both considered dermal armor, and they both produce a horned, ridged outer layer. As for a crocodile, they shed their scales individually and replace them individually, unlike snakes who shed their scales all at once and have a new coat underneath. Alright, so moving into crocodiles versus alligators. First thing you'll notice that a crocodile's top and bottom row of teeth are both visible when the crocodile's mouth is closed, whereas an alligator, when his mouth is closed, only the top row of teeth are visible, and that's because the bottom jaw actually fits the top part of their mouth. Looking at the snouts, you'll notice that the crocodile's snout is much more narrow compared to an alligator, whose snout is significantly broader than the snout of a crocodile. And then for pigment, crocodiles tend to be much lighter and tanner than compared to an alligator, who's much more grayer and darker in pigment. As location-wise, alligators are primarily found in the southern eastern U.S. and some parts of China, whereas crocodiles are found all over the world. Okay, so we're looking at scales now. Scales are an oblong shape. Oblong means elongated shape. And for crocodiles' case, their scales are mostly rectangular ovals. Scales are regular in outline and arrangement along the dorsal side of their body. You'll notice here that each scale are relatively similar in size and arranged in a very pattern-like structure. You'll see a couple differences, but generally, they're very regular in arrangement and size. Once it hits that mid-dorsal side, basically the mid-sides of their head, trunk, and legs, the scales begin to get smaller and the arrangement becomes less and less regular as it goes down. Tail-wise, tails have large ridge scales along the mid-dorsal and posterior half. Basically, what it's for is it gives the crocodile a large surface area to use as a rudder for when they're swimming in water. And you'll notice that these ridges are significantly bigger than the ones that you find on the dorsal side of their body. Alright, so now we're going to be looking at some professional work and seeing whether or not they did it right. With this first image on the left, this is Killer Croc from the Batman series. The first thing I noticed with this one is his hand that's holding this woman's face. You'll notice that these scales that are going across his hand are very plate-like. The shadows is a good impression. And, overall, it was a good hand. It actually looks like if a crocodile were to have a human hand, the scales would go across like that. But then once I get into the rest of the body, you'll notice along his trapezius and his deltoid, it just gets like these spiky structures going on, and it looks like they're overlapping, and it's not giving a good sense of crocodile. He looks more like a Godzilla ripoff or something. And then moving into the right image, you'll notice that this is another rendition of Killer Croc. First thing I noticed again with his hand is he's got these like fish-like scales going on. They seem to be overlapping again, and he's got these weird squiggles going on around his hand, and these essentially do look like fish scales. And you'll see it again here around his shoulders or neck area. One thing I did like about this one is the top side of his head. You've got these dots going on that leaves a nice impression, kind of like the dorsal side of an actual crocodile. But this is the only part where this actually happens. The rest of his arms are just covered in like cartoon chainmail, and it's really not working in his favor. Alright, so after looking at those two images of Killer Croc, I got these two images of Crocodile from Peter Pan and Louis from Princess and the Frog. And the reason I included Louis was to have a comparison between the two characters and show how Disney designed the characters and make sure that they were still the correct animal. First things first, you'll notice that on both of the characters, they got the teeth right. The crocodile has both rows of teeth extruding from the mouth when it's closed, whereas contrasting to Louis, only the top row of his teeth are visible on the closed parts of his mouth. And then secondly, the snout. You'll notice that the crocodile's snout is very narrow and triangular compared to Louis, who's got all these curves going on, and he's got that much broader snout. Disney did a really good job of both keeping these characters interesting and then keeping that technicality intact. Just a couple complaints I had was with Louis, his pigment. Alligators are technically like more grayish in color, but that's like a stylistic choice. You know, I don't think a gray alligator would be as much fun as a tannish New Orleans one. That's another thing. The location-wise, having Louis set in New Orleans and southeastern U.S. was also correct. The last complaint I had was the ridges. On both characters, the ridges are a consistent size throughout the course of their body, and like I said before, the tail has much larger ridges compared to the rest of their body. But again, I'm not sure if that was a stylistic choice or just a simple mistake. But anyways, so there you have it, you guys. That was my presentation on the how-to of crocodiles. I hope you guys learned something, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Anyways, I'll see you guys on finals day. Good luck. Peace.